I feel like there were a lot of allegations that just weren't covered in this Charlie Sheen documentary, but I honestly can't say that I'm surprised. But one question that was asked to Charlie Sheen is if the allegations about Corey Haim were true. And Charlie Sheen denied any of those allegations being true about Corey Haim. His exact wording is absolutely the F not. He then would say, "This is the part of the documentary where everybody is going to pause it and go find this story, and go ahead and do it." Charlie Sheen would then go on to say that he should have pursued legal action against Corey Feldman when he came out with the allegations that Charlie Sheen R-worded Corey Haim on the set of Lucas. But then he went on to say that he didn't pursue legal action against this clown because I didn't want to give him any more content. Going on to state that he just went out of his way to launch this thing, and back in the day I thought we were friends. Going on to claim that these allegations are a piece of vile fiction. And I do have to say, it's really weird to hear Charlie Sheen say that he didn't want to sue Corey Feldman over these allegations because he didn't want to give him more content. Another man that Corey Feldman alleged abused Corey Haim as a child was this man, David Braja. And Charlie Sheen actually sued this man when he came out to the public and alleged that he didn't abuse Corey Haim, that it was Charlie Sheen on the set of Lucas. And honestly, there were a lot of allegations throughout the years that I felt like weren't covered in detail in this documentary. And this starts back all the way in the 1990s with Charlie Sheen's fiance, Kelly Preston. There was an incident that happened that caused a lot of controversy around the time where an alleged gun had went off because it fell out of Charlie Sheen's pants pocket when Kelly Preston was picking up his pants. Now, when this weapon discharged, it hit the toilet, which then would cause a piece of it to fly off and cut Kelly Preston. And there were a lot of rumors swirling back then that something just wasn't right about this because they were both very quiet about the situation. They didn't want to talk to anybody. And not long after, they would then break off their engagement and separate. And then finally in 2011, Kelly Preston would come out and tell TMZ that this was just an accident and Charlie Sheen didn't do anything, that he wasn't even in the room. Here, the allegations just keep getting worse and worse. So back in 1996, Charlie Sheen was dating this woman named Britney Ashland. She accused Charlie Sheen of assaulting her. She said that Charlie Sheen grabbed her by the back of the hair, threw her on the floor, and knocked her unconscious. And then she claimed that Charlie Sheen threatened her to keep her quiet after the situation happened. Prosecutors then filed charges against Charlie Sheen for this incident where he would plead no contest, where he was then sentenced to 1 year of suspended jail time so he didn't have to sit in jail, and 2 years of probation. And in 2006, we would have allegations come out from Charlie Sheen's ex-wife, Denise Richards. She would come out with some very serious allegations against Charlie Sheen in an affidavit while trying to get a divorce and a restraining order on Charlie Sheen. She alleged in this affidavit that Charlie Sheen would abuse her, that he would threaten her, that he had a substance abuse problem, that he also had a gambling problem, he also had a problem with escorts, and that he even had a problem when it came to adult films. But she believed some of the things that he was viewing on his computer were not adults. They were younger girls and younger boys. And this affidavit that she wrote was literally like 27 pages long and literally heartbreaking, but I will read you one part that she says. "I told him that I discovered some adult websites that he belonged to, which I found very disturbing. Websites which promoted very young girls who looked underage to me with pigtails, braces, and no hair, performing certain acts with each other. I also told him about other websites I discovered that he accessed, including adult films involving very young men who also did not look like adults. The picture he used for his profile was of his private areas, which he emailed out to approximately 30 women. When I confronted him with this information, he did not deny it. I told him that as a mother, I found this information very disturbing because we had 2 young daughters and that I believed he had a serious problem which needed to be dealt with and that he should not be around our children." She would go on to allege that he would end up saying that if she revealed anything about his lifestyle, that he said, "You will not lay your head down at night." She said, "I understood that means that he would unalive me." He hit me in my right wrist and shoved me in my stomach area with both of his hands and got in his car and left. And in this documentary, we really don't hear much about this affidavit and all of these accusations that were alleged years ago. And we have similar allegations in 2009 that came from Charlie Sheen's ex-wife at the time, Brooke Mueller, where she accused Charlie Sheen of threatening her with a knife, saying that he was going to unalive her, which prompted her to place a 911 call, and Charlie Sheen was later arrested. Charlie Sheen would take take a plea deal for a misdemeanor assault for the other serious charges to be dropped. He was sentenced to 30 days in a rehabilitation center and also probation. And I feel like this is the only part of the allegations in this documentary that are actually a little bit more detailed on what was actually happening. And we also hear Brooke Mueller coming out and saying that she's not really sure if Charlie Sheen did in fact threaten her life with a knife because they were both dealing with substance abuse issues at the time. In 2010, Charlie Sheen would get hit with more accusations of being violent by an adult film star named Capri Anderson. She alleged that Charlie Sheen put his hands around her neck and threatened her, and she was at first going to file a lawsuit against Charlie Sheen, but instead she would not file that lawsuit and she would move to write a complaint with the police. Charlie Sheen then tried to sue her, but the lawsuit ultimately ended up going nowhere. And then in 2011 is when Warner Brothers would fire Charlie Sheen. In this letter saying that he is terminated from the show, yes, they talk about the substance abuse problems, but one thing not covered in this documentary, they also talk about the allegations against Charlie Sheen with all of these different women alleging abuse. The need to suspend and now terminate Mr. Sheen's agreement is not a step taken lightly. Warner Brothers, CBS, and Chuck Lorre have made great efforts over the years to continue the production of the show despite the off-camera behavior of Mr. Sheen. Beginning with the extremely public divorce from Denise Richards and resulting in inflammatory court documents filed by Ms. Richards through the Aspen incident in 2009, which would be the incident with Brooke Mueller, and the Plaza Hotel, which would be that adult film star Capri Anderson. And in 2015, he was sued once again by his ex-fiance, Brett Rossi. She alleged that Charlie Sheen was violent towards her, that he would drag her by her hair, lock her in the bathroom, and that he even pointed an unloaded weapon at her head and pulled the trigger. She also alleged that Charlie Sheen failed to let her know that he was HIV positive. Right after she came out saying that Charlie Sheen was HIV positive is when he would come out on national TV and admit that he was in fact HIV positive. In this documentary, Charlie Sheen is alleging the only reason he came out in 2015 is because he was being extorted by a whole bunch of different people to reveal that he was in fact positive. And then in 2016, the Los Angeles Police Department would start investigating Charlie Sheen for making threats towards her after they heard a recording of him telling someone that he wanted them to kick her in the head. She ended up being granted a restraining order against Charlie Sheen, and then in 2018, that lawsuit that she filed against Charlie Sheen would be settled. So yeah, these are the full breakdowns of the allegations that have been put out about Charlie Sheen that weren't covered in the documentary. But y'all let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.